This episode of Dorking Out is brought to you by Ramsay Bolton's Dog Obedience Academy. Because your hounds should never eat you.
And the letter S. You can't spell shame without S. Shame. Shame. Shame.
Houston, flight is go.
Mila, let's go. SPM. Safety console.
From Assignment X, Amalgamated Storytelling, and thesoniashow.com, it's The Dorking Out Show with Christopher Allen Smith and Sonia Mansfield. Welcome to the official first episode of Dorking Out, a podcast for people who love to dork out about stories and the stories in pop culture that we love. This means movies and TVs, books and podcasts, and pretty much everything else. With me today is my co-host, professional writer, and author of The Sonia Show, Sonia Mansfield.
Hey there.
Hello.
With me today is my co-host, Emmy Award-winning filmmaker and nerd author, Christopher Allen Smith.
So on today's show, we are going to be doing a status check on Season 6 of Game of Thrones, which just wrapped up last night, and have a little discussion and examination of kind of the state of epic storytelling, the challenges, the perils, and the payoffs of epic storytelling. We're also going to be talking over movie trailers. What does it mean to be a good movie trailer? What does a bad trailer indicate about the film that's yet to come? And finally, we are going to be talking about awful movies that we love, and that is in no way connected to a mini review we're going to have for Independence Day Resurgence.
Yes, not connected.
So topic one today is our status check of Season 6 of Game of Thrones, and joining us today is Peter Brown, the associate editor of Assignment X, one of the biggest geeks that we know. Also joining us, hello, Peter. Thank you for...
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Hi, Peter.
Hey, Peter. And
Hi.
Also joining us is Harrison Smith, my Game of Thrones nerd adjutant and professional Lego builder who gets paid to play with Legos at his job.
Yeah, that's a pretty sweet job.
That's a sweet gig.
I mean, most of the time isn't spent, like, playing with Legos. It's spent,
Sure,
like,
it isn't.
It's spent making sure kids don't set things on fire.
Don't destroy the magic. Don't destroy the fantasy.
There's never any fantasy or magic.
Getting to play with Legos. So, holy cow. I guess last night was the episode where everything happened. Peter, what did you think of the season finale of Season 6 of Game of Thrones?
Well, like you said, wow. I was pretty damn impressed with how they were able to not only cram as much as they did into like one single episode, but bring everything kind of together and kind of point everything in one direct path towards a finale for the show, which is something that is long kind of eluded. Like, fans of the show that have watched it have been seeing everybody go in different directions for seasons, and they've been doing their own thing, and then they would come together and then whatever. And now it finally seems like there is a clear, defined path towards the finale of the series, and that's kind of cool to see. It's kind of sad on one side just because it's kind of going to wrap up at some point, but it's also really cool that they're finally pulling everything together and it's going to actually have some sort of a defined finale, which is really great. As far as the episode goes, it was just amazing to watch. It was just like jaw hitting the floor over and over again with everything that was going on. And I said this in the podcast we did last night, the Pop Show, that I thought that the Battle of the Bastards was going to be one of the best episodes of the series ever. I didn't think they could probably top it this season, but they did, and that's pretty masterful to do that. So,
Sonia, what was your impressions of what is roundly being hailed as the best or second best episode of Game of Thrones?
I also think it's probably the best episode of Game of Thrones. I was blown away by the episode. And we've talked about this before with Game of Thrones, that I always felt like we're in good hands on this show. Like, they know the story they're telling, and they have an end game, and they're working towards that end game. And I feel like they've always been really smart at the way they move all the characters around and advance the story. And now we're getting ready for the big battle, and everyone's heading, like, in the same direction. Like, everyone was kind of scattered everywhere, and eventually people started to cross paths, and now everything's, like, coming together. And we know all the players, and we understand all their motivations, and it's just super impressive, like, how they were able to do that. And I got goosebumps watching it last night. I'm super impressed. I'm still just riding the wave today of how much I love the show.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit, through this season and last season, I was beginning to worry if the story or the creators of the show and George R.R. Martin were maybe losing control of the narrative. It was more and more characters were getting added. Their geographic locations in the show were kind of bleeding out all over the globe, and I was wondering, are they going to be able to pull this back together? I mean, I know that they generally have a idea of where they're going from the books, but famously, the books and the finale of this story has not yet been truly written. So I was wondering if they were going to start kind of flailing around or not sticking the landing. But last night, the last 2 episodes, actually, I think tied up all the loose ends, revealed to us kind of there were a million surprises and shocks last night, revealed to us that not only is this a great couple episodes, but they know exactly what they're doing. Now we know exactly where they're going. And it was just some masterful storytelling. I mean, that was one of the things that I've been worried about for the last couple seasons is a show with this many characters kind of possible to land in a satisfying way. You know, there was a huge contingent of people that loved Lost, for example, and they kept adding on things on Lost, adding on stories, characters, this and that, and then that show famously ended in a very non-satisfying way for a lot of the people that watched it. And for the last couple of weeks, I've been afraid that, maybe they're going to be stumbling into that same territory. But now I think it is definitely focused. They know exactly where they're going. And these last 2 episodes have been the 2 best episodes of the series. So I think we might be looking at almost like a Breaking Bad situation where as the show comes to an end, it reaches a new level of greatness that is just going to be fantastic to see. Harrison, what were your thoughts as a deeply steeped Game of Thrones fan? What did you think?
I thought it was spectacular. I just really don't. I am actually kind of lost for words. The beginning, the opening sequence where everybody was getting ready for the trial, I thought was amazing. It was just so well set to the music, and I actually listened to the track that played at the beginning of the episode. It's called "The Light of the Seven," and I thought I was wondering, what it had to do with the rest of the show, and I guess it was kind of revealed yesterday, and it was spectacular. I think you and Peter are right in that the show is kind of moving towards a kind of splay of too many characters, and it's moving towards a satisfying end.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, I guess, we're all kind of, as fans, gushing about this, but one of the things we do on this show is kind of discuss story and how stories are put together. Last night was I've heard about it described a little bit, was the Godfather 5 families, finale of the season where Cersei Lannister basically dispatches all her enemies in one foul swoop by destroying the Sept and killing. How many people got killed in there?
I think about 100.
Let's see. It was Marjorie. It was her brother.
Right.
the High Sparrow, Marjorie's father.
Right.
Mace.
Yep, him, and the Lannister who had converted, that guy.
Lancel.
Right, and then
and I think there was a couple others in there. The Hand of the King was in there too. Oh wait, he was the father. So the other guy was in there too. I think one of the other guys too.
Yeah.
Well,
so
that's one way to focus.
Oh yeah,
the
Kevin
story, right?
Lannister was in there.
I'm sorry, what was that, Sonia?
I said that's one way to focus the story. You kill off a bunch of characters, you get really lean and mean for the end.
Well, the thing is that this season they've killed off so many people this season. That's the other thing, like you were talking, there were so many characters in this show. But this season they just like every episode someone that we've like known has gone. Like whether it's the girl that was with Rickon was killed, and then Rickon was killed, and then the Ironborn King was killed, and all these other people have just been killed. The Dorn guy was killed at the very episode, in the beginning episode, and now you have this one fell swoop just like wiping out another 12 characters in one episode. So it's pretty crazy because Tomlin, he took the high dive. And so it's just crazy how many people they just wrapped up in one episode.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the other thing is, people have been complaining, and this was one of the feelings that I had about, do these guys really know what they're doing with some of these characters? Like Arya has been gone from Westeros for how many seasons?
Like 2, right?
Yeah,
3.
2 or 3 seasons. She's been out. She's been training, but who knows where she's going, and this and that. And then last night, the creator of the Red Wedding, Walder Frey, is...
There's another one, yeah.
Eating some food.
He is no more.
Who shows up to kill him?
Another 3.
What was that?
Another 3. His 2 sons, too.
That's right.
We're baked into the pie.
That's right.
So that's another 3 right there.
That's right. Arya Stark pulls an Eric Cartman and feeds Walder Frey his sons
To him.
before killing.
What do you guys think about that?
I mean, we were actually talking about it today, Chris and I, that Arya has. I find it kind of depressing that Arya started as this kind of adventurous, bright-eyed little girl, and she's ended as a psychopathic murderer. And she's badass and she's cool, but at the same time, badass and cool don't always mean good.
Yeah.
Khal Drogo was badass and cool, but he was a terrible man.
Yeah.
Right.
Tywin Lannister was badass and cool, but he was a terrible man.
That's how I feel. I'm torn because I like her and I hate to see her go down such a dark path.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I really want that guy to die and I want her to have revenge. So I feel torn.
Well, yeah, I think that was another thing. The last couple episodes, especially with Sansa, watching the characters compare themselves to what they were in the first season, Arya is completely different. You can see the seeds of what she would become in the first seasons, but now she's something totally new. Jon Snow has been marked by this adventure in deep and crazy ways. Sansa, basically, and now Cersei has, she talked in seasons back about wanting to be if she were a man, she would be the king, but no one's paying any attention to her, and now she's kind of suffered more than any parent should have to suffer. A lot of times
by her own hand, though.
By her own hand and by her own actions. And now she's gotten what she wants. I mean, it's
interesting about Cersei too is that they had that flashback like a couple seasons ago with she visited that witch or whatever in the hut as a child, and she said, you're going to see your three offspring die, and then you're going to die yourself. Yeah. So we've seen the 3 now. We have if that prophecy comes true, obviously she's the next, right?
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, that's the other thing, and that's one thing I was curious about with you guys is last night's episode. Every scene was paying off on groundwork that had been been written throughout the whole season, and in one sense, it's very satisfying to just see payoff after payoff after payoff. And in another sense, I'm wondering, is the kind of laying careful groundwork with Game of Thrones, a little bit of a drawback, because I think for several episodes this season I liked them, but it was just kind of like, come on, let's get to something happening. And in the last 2 episodes, it seems like all the big things that could have been spread out throughout the season all happened pretty much at once. I'm
fine with that. It's like they're building suspense.
Okay, yeah, I guess
that's how I looked at it, and I'm fine with that. I'll take a little suspense. I always feel like I said before, we're in good hands, and I trust that they know what they're doing, and I'm along for the ride.
So you're good with 2 holy episodes and 8. There are 10 episodes a year, and this isn't meant to be a judgmental question, but kind of 2 holy episodes. Well, no, you'll see where I'm going. 2 holy episodes, and then 8 that's pretty good episodes, or 8 okay episodes, rather than 0 holy episodes and 5 or 6 good episodes.
Well, I would argue that there were more than just a few okay episodes this season.
I would argue that too.
But it's kind of like the George Costanza where you leave the room on a high note.
True.
When you end your season on a big note like that, I'm not going to remember that it if episode 4 was a drag. All I'm going to remember is that season 10 was awesome.
That's right. Yeah, no, that's good. And that's one of the things that I always try to tell people that I work with. And whenever I try to do any storytelling myself, it's if, an okay beginning and an okay end you can get past, as long as you have a good ending. And if
you have to stick the landing always.
That's right. You have to have a good ending. If you have a great beginning and a great middle and a bad ending, it doesn't matter how good the beginning is.
Right.
So, and I would actually argue that I think that Game of Thrones has kind of done this throughout its history, right? They've always kind of had this build up to a payoff.
Right.
Like it's like even in season 1, we had this build up to Ned Stark trying to, kind of defeat the Cersei Lannister and uncover that she really did father her brother's children, and she was the one who killed Robert and whatever else. And it ends with him getting beheaded because he overstepped his bounds and didn't understand politics. So so that was kind of a build up to that. And then you had this whole build up with Robb Stark, and he was winning the battles, and he was going to take on the Lannisters, and then Red Wedding happens, and and then that so we have we have this entire.
Or the Blackwater episode.
Or the Blackwater episode, yeah. Stannis is pushing, and he's gonna win. He's gonna take over King's Landing, but then, Tyrion has this whole ship of Wildfire go out and blow them all up.
So, having said all that, and George R. R. Martin is famous for leading people, using storytelling elements to get the audience to believe they know where they're going. Almost, and then take them in a completely different direction. I think a lot of people before the shock of the Red Wedding in the show, obviously, were completely flipped when they were reading the books, and it's just because we're used to certain tropes and we're used to certain rhythms in heroic storytelling, and he seems to know them all too well and employ all of them for the specific purpose of faking people out and then breaking their hearts or shocking them or freaking them out. And I say all this as preamble to ask, so at the end of this episode, we have Daenerys and Tyrion sailing for Westeros with a massive army and 3 dragons finally. We have Jon Snow as the king in the north. We have Cersei on the Iron Throne, ruling in King's Landing as she's always secretly kind of wanted. What do we think is going to be the storyline from here until the series finale, which I believe is at the end of season 8, or is projected to be at the end of season 8? We have 2 seasons, 7 and 8, coming up, with 7 episodes each, if I remember correctly. So
right, they're going to be truncated. Or one's going to be 8 and the other one's going to be 6, one or the other.
Yeah, something like that. So we got
roughly about 14 episodes.
Yeah, we have 14 hours of Game of Thrones left. what do you think is going to happen? What does it look like the story is going to be from here until then?
Can I raise my hand?
That's
All
right.
Well,
definitely on a podcast. Raise your hand.
well, I just don't want to interrupt anybody. Anyway,
feel free. I've taught you nothing.
It was this last episode. It was kind of revealed that Varys had been working with the Sand Snakes and with Ilaria, who is Doran's daughter, and who they're all living down in Dorne, and he had been kind of secretly fostering this alliance between the Tyrells and the Dornish and Daenerys. So I think Daenerys is going to land in Dorne with and have the backing of House Tyrell and House Martell and the rest of Dorne and the Reach to kind of overthrow Cersei. And I think at the point where, Cersei is going to go down in flames, not to make a pun, but I mean, I think Cersei's going to burn down King's Landing with the remaining wildfire, because she's completely lost. She's lost everything. She's lost her family.
Her children or they're really her humanity.
Both.
Yeah.
And she sees herself as Tywin Lannister, but I guess now that I think about it, I was about to say she's not nearly as good, but Tywin Lannister didn't kill,
that's
all of his enemies at once.
Yeah, well, that's true, but Tywin Lannister also had perspective and also had some reason in him, and I don't think,
Yeah, he also got shot in the John.
That's true, that's true. But, Cersei, I mean, I think she's revealed it at several points, and she said it explicitly in this latest episode is, I do what feels good. If it feels good, I want to do it, which is a horrifying thing to think about in a leader. Yeah. Peter, what do you think is going to happen in the next, between here and the series finale?
So I have a couple of things. So first, piggybacking on what Harrison said with Cersei, I agree with him. I think that she is going to pull a Targaryen, and she's going to say burn them all, and she's going to do what the story that Jaime Lannister told about having him at the end when he was defeated. The Mad King decided, instead of just surrendering or whatever, he was going to torch everybody in the city. And Jaime decided I'm not going to let that happen, and he killed him. Right, that's the Kingslayer.
Right.
I think we're going to see history repeat itself. Is actually what I think is going to happen. I think Jaime is going to be forced to kill his sister.
I agree.
And that you could almost see it in this last episode.
Yeah.
Him looking at her and going, she's lost it.
Yeah.
He could see it in the way she was acting. He after he saw the destruction and he saw her, he was like, she has lost it. And he is going to have to do exactly what he did to the Mad King, to the Mad Queen now. He's going to have to do it.
Yeah.
Right. Sonia, what are your thoughts on what's to come in Game of Thrones?
So I'm thinking the Mother of Dragons shows up and fights at King's Landing, and then Jon Snow and his people are fighting the White Walkers, and then they join together and they all fight the White Walkers.
That's
and then, and then it turns into Peter's fan fiction.
Which is not. See, that's the thing is we've been joking about Peter's fan fiction, but I think he's right. He's right on. I think. Daenerys.
Keep
going, Peter.
The only snafu in that is that in my thing is that I thought that Jon Snow would marry Daenerys, because even Daenerys said it in this episode. When she broke up with that guy, she basically said, I'm going to have to form alliances. That means I'm going to have to marry someone. And so I immediately went, oh, there it is. The opening's there. It's going to be Jon Snow and her, right? But then it's revealed that, I said this in last night's podcast, that they're cousins. Actually, she's his aunt.
See, yep. And I don't think on this show that's really an obstacle.
And so that's even kind of weirder.
I believe.
Yep.
Right. So, that's true, but still, it kind of throws a little monkey wrench into it. Maybe not.
Well, now that I think about it, so let's play this out. what? And this is why I brought my adjutant to discuss this. What's the name of the White Walker that is Bran's uncle?
Benjen.
All right, so Benjen.
He's not a White Walker. Get your terminology right.
All right, see, this is why I bring him, because I kind of know this stuff, and he definitely knows this stuff. Anyway,
He's a reformed White Walker.
that's right.
He's a white.
He's right. So he said several times last night that the White Walkers essentially cannot go past the wall as long as the wall is standing. And I believe they've said this in several episodes with the caveat of as long as the wall is standing.
Right.
So I'm suspecting that what we're going to see is Daenerys lands in Dorne, gathers her forces in Westeros, marches on the capital, takes out Cersei, then is looking around at the way to unify Westeros, which would mean some sort of marriage to Jon Snow, the King in the North. It would bring Westeros back together the wall falls somehow, and the final confrontation is Daenerys and Jon fighting the White Walkers. And so here's the question with this show. Are the White Walkers going to win?
No.
Is that going to be the final Red Wedding holy crap moment? To show us the cruelty of the world and highlight how happy endings are something for stories, but they are not something for George R.R. Martin or quote-unquote real epic storytelling.
Can I raise my hand again?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you can.
All right. Well, I think at heavy, incredible cost, maybe with the lives of Daenerys and Jon, and definitely a couple of her dragons, that they will eventually win over the White Walkers, because in Game of Thrones is notorious for the good guys always lose, the bad guys always win. But if you actually look at it from a more thematic and realistic standpoint, the bad guys and the good guys win. But the bad guys and the good guys lose. Mm-hmm. But because the Lannisters, they won a short-term victory with the Red Wedding, but look at them now. Their patriarch, Tywin Lannister, it was shot by his own son. All of their male heirs are dead.
Right.
Jaime is probably going to kill Cersei, and King's Landing is the Lannisters have completely lost what they had before.
So you're saying that, in a sense, the surprising, shocking ending that George R.R. Martin might be laying the groundwork for is a happy ending, where the good guys win.
I think it's going to be a happy ending with incredible cost. George R.R. Martin is on record as saying that the ending of his series will be bittersweet. And I think this means that there will be incredible cost, but the good guys will eventually win. And I, to be honest, I just think it would be bad storytelling if they had the White Walkers win, because, what's the point of all of this show, this 80 hours of television
that's true.
They just throw it out the window for shock value. That'd be,
or maybe the bad guys win, but the bad guys are the humans.
Oh!
I just blew your mind.
I would actually argue that the bad guys always win in Game of Thrones too, because in fact, you even kind of back up the point as in that the Lannisters had the Red Wedding and they had some small victories, but look at what happened. Cersei's all of her sibling, all of her offspring are dead. Jaime got his hand cut off. Their father died. The Walder Frey finally got what came to him. The Bolton finally got what came to him. So it's not like the bad guys are actually winning long term and the good guys are losing long term. It's maybe the good guys are losing short term and the bad guys are losing long term.
Yeah.
Well, on this show, everyone's going to die, and they're going to die. It's really, how are they going to die?
A little bit. I think the Starks are becoming more prevalent, and they've retaken the North, and they have now the full support of the North. So I think that
the North remembers.
Yeah, exactly. The North remembers. Thank you, Leanna Mormont, and wait.
So yeah, Leanna Mormont is that little girl, right?
She's
right.
awesome.
She's the best.
She's the baddest ass.
Where's
character.
her spin-off show?
That's
I love it.
That's right.
She basically went in there and just said, "Where were you all? You all were cowards, But we said the North remembers." It's like, oh yeah, you gave 56 people or whatever. Yeah,
I would pay whatever it costs to have Leanna Mormont have her own spin-off of her traveling around Westeros with Tormund and Jon solving mysteries.
That would be a good show.
All right, Peter.
Call it the North remembers.
That's right.
but ironically, Leanna has a short-term memory problem when she falls down some stairs.
There you go.
All right.
That's right.
It's so sad. I was going to call
It's
the
a
show
dramatic comedy.
Exposure.
Oh, say that again, Sonia. We stepped on it.
And they could call the show Northern Exposure.
All right, cool. Peter, do you have anything else you'd like to say on season 6 of Game of Thrones?
So yeah, I was just going to bring up this whole theory about the three-headed dragon, which is this theory that's been kicked around by people who read the books, and I just kind of stumbled on it just because I read a lot of internet about Game of Thrones, just because I love
You're
the show.
shopping around your fan fiction.
And I'm a total dork, yes, that too. And so basically it's that there's actually 3 offspring left of the Targaryens, which is obviously you have Daenerys, who is well known, and they all have dragon lineage of some sort. And we know obviously Daenerys and Drogon, they're like kind of connected. But then there are 2 other dragons that are left, and there's a theory that Tyrion is actually not is a product of a Lannister and a Targaryen rape that happened, and that his mother was actually raped by one of the mad Targaryens, and that's why he's so different from everybody else. And that might be why in one of the episodes this season we see him when he went into when the dragons were being chained, and he unhooked them, and because they didn't attack him, they didn't do anything. They were just like, okay, well, let's go, and they haven't been fed, they hadn't been anything, and he walked away, right? So he might have a little dragon blood in him, and they might have known that. And then the other kind of thing that goes back is that now we know Jon Snow is also a Targaryen, so he might be the other head of the 3-headed dragon, and so those 3 coming together would be the force that kind of. And I guess the theory is that the 3-headed dragon is the force that is assembled and goes to defeat the White Walkers, and so I don't know, it might be all coming together.
The Power Rangers of Westeros, if you will.
I can't believe I didn't think of it before. That's so awesome.
That's right. You heard it here, 7th. So topic 2 are trailers. This, what makes a good trailer? What makes a bad trailer? What do trailers mean? Kind of for us as people who like to tell stories and like to be teased and interested in stories. What do trailers mean to us? This was something that Sonia and I started kicking around when we discussed the Ghostbusters trailer a few months back on another podcast. And also when we were talking about and noticing the awfulness of the first trailer for Star Trek Beyond, which comes out in a couple weeks. So we thought we would just kick the door open to trailers. Sonia, I believe you have a fantastic story about trailers that you wanted to kick this off with. Let me hear it.
I do. It's kind of my husband's story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So this is a story about kind of how trailers can really ruin a movie for you. So when Terminator 2 came out, and I think that was 91, am I right?
I think you are.
Okay. My husband was traveling through Europe, and he hadn't seen any previews, any commercials, any trailers, nothing for Terminator 2. So he got to see it, and he didn't know that Schwarzenegger was a good guy.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh God, I'm so jealous.
Is it right?
Oh,
I'm jealous.
Yes.
So how awesome would it be to see the movie and not know that he's not the Terminator? David was rooting for the cop.
Oh.
He was rooting for the cop to get to them.
This is, it's funny because we talked about Star Trek and Ghostbusters, and we're going to talk about the Batman vs. Superman trailer, but 90% of what this whole discussion is in that story that you just told. Because I remember Cameron was furious that the trailer to Terminator 2 revealed that Schwarzenegger was the good guy. Because if you watch that movie, the entire movie is setting him up as the villain. The reveal of him being the good guy in that movie only comes at the moment where he the good Terminator and the bad Terminator both converge on John Connor. You expect Arnold Schwarzenegger to just take him out, and instead he tells John, "Get down," and then he starts attacking the cop, and then it's revealed. If you look at the construction of the ending,
want to live or whatever it is,
right? All that you put all that, but so the movie is fantastic, so it overcomes this hump. But the first 20 minutes of that movie, the suspense of it is kind of leached out by that awful, awful trailer.
Right. When trailers go bad.
Yeah, exactly. Which brings us to the Batman versus Superman trailer that came out, I think, at the end of last year, that I think famously put a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouths because it pretty much told...
Well, it told you everything.
It told you the beginning, middle, and end. I mean, we know that. I think that's. Let me step back. That's the thing about trailers, is they're meant to entice, to make you hungry for the movie that you're going to go see. In the best of all worlds, a trailer would give you kind of the tone and the story and the, set you up to like a story, but it's not going to just splay it all out.
I just want to know what the movie's about.
Right.
Is it a comedy? Is it a drama? And what the movie's about. That's all I need to know.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't even always need to know that. A teaser trailer is great.
Right.
But they don't need to tell me, here's what happens at the beginning, and here's what happens in the middle, and here's what's going to happen at the end.
Right. Right. Exactly. I mean, that's the thing is we all have that friend that wants to talk to you about a movie, and before you can say anything, they blurt out all the major plot points of the movie but in this kind of way that's not really interesting. They don't have the storytelling sophistication or talent of any, a movie or an author. So they do tell you the story, but they tell it to you in a very unengaging, kind of way.
Right.
So not only do they kind of tell you a boring story, but they also kind of ruin the majesty or the thing that they're trying to get you excited about. So
you're saying bad movie trailers are like a lame friend.
Exactly. They are. And that's kind of what I'm talking about with Batman versus Superman is if you watch that trailer, we all know the kind of general shape of a comic book movie. The heroes meet at the beginning. They find out some threat. It gets bigger throughout the movie, and at the end, there's a big, massive fight or a big, massive confrontation. And if you watch the Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, I think the last trailer that they did, it shows you, beat for beat, almost in chronological order, what the movie's going to be. And, there's a lot of speculation going around. It's, that if that trailer had been different, the performance of that movie would have been significantly different. It wouldn't, because one of the big reveals in the trailer is Doomsday, Superman's biggest nemesis, is in this movie, and there's going to be a big fight with Doomsday. Famously in the comic books, Doomsday is the character that kills Superman. So they not only do they tell you that Doomsday is in this movie, that they basically, for any comic book fans, reveal, spoiler alert, Superman dies at the end of Batman versus Superman. And it is just awful storytelling.
And it would have been such a good surprise because it already had Lex Luthor, so you figure there's already a bad guy.
Right. See, that's the thing. It's already got Lex Luthor, and it's already got Superman and Batman kicking the crap out of each other.
Right.
So that's the movie. And then, so you go expecting that, and then you see that, and then, oh my God, Doomsday is there. And then we get the final fight that's in there, and it would be a completely different experience being shocked by that. That's one of the things that I think marketing departments for Hollywood are just having an awful time in. They're not letting the shocks and, stories are built up in certain ways. There's suspense, there's shocks, there's, letdowns and excitement and all these different tools that filmmakers have to use. And it's almost like the marketing departments of these studios are pulling out all of the, pulling out half of the tools. And I think I definitely think in the case of Batman versus Superman, damaging the value of the actual movies that they're supposed to be promoting.
Right.
Which brings us to, what does it mean? People famously know that you can take almost any movie and cut a trailer that's going to make that movie look enjoyable and fun. We have Star Wars Episode 1, which for me is one of the greatest trailers of all time.
Such a great trailer.
And that movie is not fantastic. But
no,
every
we'll
time,
add more about that later.
Yeah, it's all right. Every time I see the Star Wars Episode 1 Phantom Menace teaser trailer, I want to go back and watch that movie. Even though I know I don't really like it. Yeah, and I'm not really going to enjoy it. And I'm going to be there halfway through the movie thinking, why did I do this? Why am I watching this? I've seen this movie. It's broken my heart 25 times. Why am I doing this? But that teaser trailer is so sweet.
Yeah. By the way, it worked on me again today.
You were
like, hey, let's talk about trailers. And I watched the trailer and I was like, I should watch Phantom Menace again.
That's right. It's nuts. Anyway, so we know that a good trailer, a well-crafted teaser and that's actually a great example of something else we're going to talk about with another Star Wars trailer, The Force Awakens, which is they give you something, they give you the tone, they give you the excitement, they make you interested, but they don't ruin anything.
Well, that's the thing. They show you cool stuff, but they don't give away the plot.
Right, exactly.
That's what I also mentioned to you, Mad Max Fury Road.
Right.
It was a preview I really liked because it was the same thing. Like, here's some cool stuff.
Right.
It looks like this. This is the tone of the movie. No story. It doesn't tell you anything about what it's about.
Right.
And it looks amazing.
And
it is. It is so chrome and shiny.
That's right. I witness you. Which brings us to... So we know that you can take a bad movie and make a great trailer. What does it mean when a trailer comes out and the trailer makes it look awful?
Yeah.
Case in point, the germinating trailer that started this discussion months ago. The first trailer for the new Ghostbusters that comes out in a couple weeks. I was not a fan of this trailer. A lot of people, there was a powerful reaction for various quarters of the internet for this Ghostbusters trailer.
Yeah. But we're not going to talk about the awful sexism.
No, we are going to talk about...
We're going to talk about what was wrong with the trailer.
Which is, let me hear you, because I think that is one of the things that was interesting that happened.
What I don't want to hear is, well, what's wrong with the trailer is there shouldn't be chicks in Ghostbusters. That's not a good critique.
That's right. Hold on. I got to rewrite my notes. Hold on. All right.
I'm like, if that's your big critique of the trailer, I don't want to hear it.
No, that's not my critique of the trailer, because I think what happened is that trailer came out and there was the normal internet misogyny eruption.
Yes.
That for some reason is really focused on this movie.
Yes.
Then there was the eruption of, which I put myself into, of this trailer is not making me enthusiastic about this remake that I was already on the fence about.
Right.
We've said it before, is there's two types of remakes. There's the inspired remake where you take something and reimagine it and do something cool with it. And then there's the kind of, RoboCop Total Recall style remake where you take something, you water it down, you give it a new coat of paint, you give it modern special effects, you kick it out the door, and it just sits there and it's no fun. To me, this Ghostbusters trailer falls in that second category.
Oh, I'm worried for sure.
So what?
And I'm a big fan, and I've kind of become like the de facto champion of this trailer on our Pop Show podcast for Assignment X. And I fully admit it might be one of these watered down remakes that you're talking about. I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt because Paul Feig's other movies like Spy and Heat and Bridesmaids, those previews also didn't really set the world on fire. But they were really good movies.
It's interesting you should say that. I'm wondering almost if there's some kind of influence with him that is making for not great trailers. Because I watched Bridesmaids. I liked it. A lot of people loved Spy. I wasn't the biggest fan, but a lot of people do like it. And this trailer takes a lot of elements that I would kind of expect to like. Kristen Wiig, I think, is one of the funniest people out there right now. Melissa McCarthy is a massive presence in comedy now. Kate McKinnon is fantastic on Saturday Night Live. I think she was in one of the funniest skits of the last 5 years on that show this past season. But the trailer just kind of like, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
Which is funny because this trailer is famously for the last 6 months, a lot of people on the net, and I think on YouTube, have called it the worst trailer of all time.
Which is ridiculous.
It is the most downvoted trailer, I believe, on YouTube, which is ridiculous because the worst trailer of all time, or at least a strong contender, was the first preview to Star Trek Beyond.
I would agree with that.
Which, oh my God. It's
yeah.
Captain Kirk on a BMX bike while, spoiler alert, the Enterprise is destroyed again.
Yes.
By some sort of big insect swarm.
Really, like the only thing this preview needed was like a character going, "I'm getting too old for this," and
That's
then
right.
it like, cuts out and it starts playing like Bad to the Bone or whatever. Like, it's such a bad preview.
It's off in tone. It makes Star Trek look like a Fast and Furious movie, which a lot of people are giving Justin Lin a hard time because he directed some Fast and Furious movies. I don't think that necessarily means he's going to direct Star Trek like that and he's going to make a bad movie, but it definitely seems like the marketing department decided that was a kind of selling point and wanted to play up that aspect.
Yeah, it seemed pretty tone deaf.
Right, it seemed tone deaf. So we could be in a situation here where the studio made an awful trailer to what may or may not be a good movie. We don't know. But we've seen this before, and I was not a big fan of the first INGLOURIOUS BASTERDS trailer. I thought it was kind of off and weird and strange. I'll go see any Tarantino movie because of his pedigree, but that preview was not great. One of the other movies that I liked of the last 15 years was Minority Report, and it had an awful trailer. It just looked like a mess. And actually, I should take this moment to say, we are putting links to all these trailers in our newsletter, so you'll be able to get all the trailers there.
Subscribe to our newsletter.
And you'll be able to watch a bunch of old trailers and awful trailers. So
it's fun.
Sonia, so what do you think? Do you think a bad trailer... Have you ever seen a truly awful trailer for a movie that then turned out to be good or great?
Yeah, well, I think that happens all the time. I really do. I'm trying to think of one right now off the top of my head. Okay.
I'll be silent here while you do that.
All right. I can think of one. I remember seeing the previews for The Sixth Sense and thinking it looked really lame.
That's
really
right.
lame. I didn't
about
see
that.
The Sixth Sense until like 6 weeks after it had already been out.
You know, it's funny.
And
you
by the
should say
way,
that.
nobody ruined it for me.
That's right. Is I saw The Sixth Sense without seeing any trailers. So I just went in like, oh, here's a movie, and it blew my socks off.
Well, I saw previews and I was clearly unimpressed because I didn't bother to go see it. And then it was making all this money and people seemed to really like it. So I finally went to go see it and I was like, oh, it's actually really great.
So is the answer to then skip trailers? Will we have a better movie-going experience by just not seeing any trailers, tuning them all out?
Maybe we could judge movies by their movie posters.
Maybe. See, that's the thing, though. I love a good trailer.
Me too.
Speaking of which, the final trailer or whatever of Star Wars: The Force Awakens is just a masterpiece of getting you excited, giving you a little taste, but not giving you anything in any kind of context to kind of ruin the movie-going experience. So I would be kind of bummed to try to tune out trailers altogether. But, you know, with you reminding me of my Sixth Sense experience and David's Terminator 2 experience, which I would have killed to have that experience.
I know, right? Maybe we could all like get in a time machine or get like an internal, damn it, the like spotless mind. Maybe
Yes,
we could
that.
have, like, our memories erased, and we could go see it again for the first time.
That's right. Oh,
Eternal sunshine of the spotless mind.
Sure.
That's what it was.
Yeah. So I don't know. We have no nice and tidy wrap up to this segment,
We really don't.
so we will move on.
To the left of the monorail is the main entrance of Disneyland, the happiest place on earth.
Topic 3, awful movies that we loved that was inspired by this weekend's, one of the big opening movies of this weekend, Independence Day, Resurgence, and I am now going to give you my review, and here it is. Damn it! I wanted this movie to be good, because Independence Day, the first one, is a truly cheesy movie.
It's a bad movie you love.
It is. I love this movie back to front, and it might have the most amount of cheese, but it also is wrapped in with this really, truly nutty scale of destruction and epic grandeur for the kind of movie that it is. That it's got this every time it gets too cheesy and too corny and too sappy, it has some really blow your socks off visuals, and every time it's about to get too grim because it's aliens vaporizing most of Earth, it has just the most treacly, ridiculous emotionality baked into it. And then it's got Jeff Goldblum just being a smartass through the whole movie.
I hoped you were going to mention that it had Jeff Goldblum because that's the best part.
That is definitely the best part, and he's injecting humor in it at every moment, and none of those elements were in Independence Day Resurgence. It's this strange. The thing that was great about Independence Day is it was kind of like most disaster movies. You meet 5 or 6 people at the beginning. They're going out throughout their normal lives, and then spaceships show up and just start obliterating everything. And then we fight the bad guys, and then their spaceships explode, and it's over. It's very straightforward, very simple, very enjoyable. On the edge of your seat kind of movie, because it just really just goes over the top. It was one of the first movies to destroy major landmarks. I still remember seeing the Super Bowl ad before this movie came out in '96, and it showed the White House being obliterated.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this was before 9/11, this was before all these awful things, and that was like, oh my God, this is the most spectacular nuts movie. I've got to see it. And everybody that summer went to see the crap out of that movie.
Yeah.
Independence Day Resurgence makes sense in the Independence Day timeline, in that its human society has been radically changed. They've taken all this alien technology and built up this huge Earth Defense Force. So it's kind of like this weird science fiction movie. It's almost like a futuristic movie. It's, we have these spaceships, we have moon bases, we have, attack lasers in Saturn and Jupiter. We've got all this stuff, and the humor and the fun and the regular everyday working man level of storytelling, which was kind of throughout the original Independence Day, is just not here, and it's just a bad movie. So that is my review for Independence Day Resurgence. One word: damn it.
Glad I didn't see that.
Yes. So, but it got us thinking about the special kind of joy that awful movies give us. What are some of your favorite awful movies, Sonia?
So I think I have two really big ones, and I put them on this list because I feel like these are the two I always have to defend to people.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I tell them I really love those movies, people make a face or, leave.
All right. Spit them out.
So the first one is The Phantom Menace.
Interesting.
I am a total apologist for this movie. And by the way, I was one of the people who used to really hate it.
What do you think happened?
It grew on me. I just like it now. I more than like it. I kind of love it. I watched it again over the summer to get ready for The Force Awakens, and I was like, oh my God, I actually love this. And I was kind of surprised. I think it's just, I don't know, some distance.
Huh.
Now, it's like a Star Wars movie, but it's, it is a Star Wars movie, but it's like almost like a step out of the Star Wars. It almost feels like it isn't connected, even though it is.
Right.
And I think it might have something to do with, I am the mother of a young boy. And so it centers on a young boy. And so maybe I could connect with it a little bit more now than I could back when it first came out. But I really love it. And we talked about this in the trailer segment before. When I watched the trailer again today, I was like, I should watch it again.
That's right.
And because I still love it.
That's interesting, because for me, I was listing off awful movies that I love, and there's a thing about them, and this is I think why Phantom Menace may or may not be one that I like on that level, is there's a certain baseline of enjoyment that you kind of laugh at it, but at moments you kind of really go along with it. But in most of the movies that I like at this level, there's nothing great about them. They never veer up into, this could be... They never hint that they could be a great movie. It's, we are kind of aggressively mediocre, and there's nothing in here that hints at anything better than that.
Yeah, well, Phantom Menace falls under what we've talked about before, which is the ambitious failure.
Exactly. And
so there is that hint of greatness there. So maybe it doesn't really fall in that category, but I feel like it is a movie that... Well, yeah.
For you,
to people.
Yeah, it's all in the eye of the beholder. So if that's it for you, but for me, there are moments in it that really hint at, this is unalloyed Star Wars greatness. So it's a very intensely frustrating movie for me. And I think I'll illustrate this a little bit more by me laying out some of the other awful movies that I love.
Okay. Don't let me forget, I have a second one that I also need to mention.
That's right. All right. Pearl Harbor.
Terrible.
Yes, it is terrible. Moonraker. Star Trek Generations, which is an aggressively mediocre movie. Karate Kid 2.
You do that one all for the glory of love.
That's right. Not the first one, because the first one's a legitimately good movie.
Right.
The second one is just pure 80s cheese that I love.
Right.
I'd say most Godzilla and most Roland Emmerich movies fall under this category. Ironically, Roland Emmerich's Godzilla does not fall under this category because I don't think it's enjoyable
but it falls
at
under
all.
two of these categories.
It does, but it doesn't. It's kind of like they cancel each other out, and it's just like, no, this doesn't work. But this show is called Dorking Out, so we really like to dork out about stuff. To do this, what I've done, if you go to letterboxd.com/JetJurgens, you're going to find my Letterboxd. It's a movie social network. You're going to see that I have rated something like 2,500 movies, every movie I can remember seeing. And the reason I bring this up is, when I'm going down and down and down and looking at movies that I really like, that are on this list of movies that I love, awful movies that I love, they are right up against movies that I truly hate. For example, I go deep down. Side by side are Alien 3, which I can't stand, which just breaks my heart every time. But right near it is... Hold on, let me take a look at here. It's like Star Trek, the motion picture, which is just boring and watching or like Jaws 2, where they're just fun to watch, and they're just awful. They're all kinds of wrong and awful, but they're basically the same level of filmmaking, the same level of skill, the same level of execution. But one of them I just love like crazy, and the other one I can't stand. It's a mystery of what makes a movie. Or like, here's one, George Lucas's Red Tails, which is just, or like most of the Godzilla movies, Godzilla 1985 or Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, they're all here in this kind of tier of movies that I really like watching them, but right beside it is the remake of the Day the Earth Stood Still, which is unwatchable because it's just so boring. Or like Daredevil, or actually here's another one. Yeah, Roland Emmerich's The Day After Tomorrow, which is grade A disaster porn cheese, and then The Mist, which is one of my least favorite movies of all time.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, it's just... Have you seen The Mist?
No, but I thought people kind of like The Mist, don't they?
Oh, it's got an ending that is so awful.
Okay, well, don't tell me. Maybe
wrong.
I need to see it. And
do not see it. Especially, I'm not going to say anything, but especially you listen to this, when this episode comes out, listen to what you said about Star Wars, The Phantom Menace. Think about it.
Okay.
And there's a reason buried in there of why you cannot watch The Mist. But Sonia,
I've figured it out. Thank you. I won't see The Mist.
I have babbled along enough. What are some of the other awful movies that you love?
Okay, so I have a couple. I'll list a whole bunch of them, and then I'll save the one that I get the most crap for last. So I think maybe this falls under this category. Footloose. I super love.
That's a great one.
Breakin'. I love.
I don't think I ever saw that.
I put all of these together here. Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, Tommy Boy.
Those, I would almost say those are legit
these good movies.
I would say those are legit good movies.
Okay, well then we'll strike them from the list. How about From Dusk Till Dawn?
That's a possibility because it's got the Quentin Tarantino-esque beginning, and then it's got the Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to end a movie ending.
Yeah, but I super love it.
It's just a mess. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I super love it. But the one I get like the most crap for, besides Phantom Menace, I really love Grease 2. I love it. I think it's awesome. I watch it like once a year. I love it. I know all the songs. I've seen it a million times. It's almost like a secret shame.
That is a fantastic choice. And I just realized as you're saying this, a lot of the movies on my list are awful sequels. There's something about having characters that you like and they're in dynamics that you like, but the execution is blah. And it's just, maybe there's something there.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like, if Grease was on and Grease 2 was on, I'd probably watch Grease 2.
You know what? I can't think of any better way to end this segment.
All right, then.
So, send your love mail, hate mail to Sonia Mansfield.
Yeah, come out me, darks. I can take it.
Darks? Is that what you just called them?
Did I? No, I said dorks.
Oh, dorks, right.
And I'm totally not drunk right now.
That's right. You say that in a very convincing way. So, for Sonia Mansfield and Chris Smith, that is the Dorking Out, Episode 1. Say goodbye, Sonia.
Goodbye, Sonia.
Bye! The Dorking Out Show is on Twitter at Dorking Out Show, where you can find Chris at Jet Jurgens and Sonia at The Sonia Show. You can read about Sonia's random adventures at thesoniashow.com and track the slow and creeping progress of Chris's novel and his other hijinks at jetjurgens.com. You can find out more about the Dorking Out Show at dorkingoutshow.com. While you're over there, you can support us by giving us a review on iTunes. We have a handy-dandy iTunes link to whisk you right back to 2007, where you can leave your review and 5-star rating in iTunes. We'd do it for your podcast. Want to dork out even more? Well, you can sign up for our newsletter, where you'll get all the headlines we use as fuel for the show. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening.